Good morning, sports fans. Fordham football has been the early season darling of the Bronx, starting 3-0 for the first time since 2013. The man under center at Rose Hill has been extremely key for the Rams. Tim DeMorat threw a career-high 464 yards and 5 touchdowns to lead Fordham to a 48-45 come-from-behind win over Albany on homecoming weekend. What a thrilling day for the Rams. We go inside the locker room for more.
It's a good thing that, we scored 48 points and I feel like we had a pretty bad game offensively, at least for the first 2.5 quarters. If you look at the penalties and drive killers that we had, that hurt us. And then me, I thought I didn't play a good first half, like Coach said. I think I had a couple errant throws, wasn't playing my game. And I think once I got settled and the whole offense got settled, we played good when it mattered in the second half.
All right. And in those final moments, what gives you strength? What are you looking to personally to push yourself through that?
I think it's trusting coaches, trusting my offensive line, trusting my receivers and backs. Offensive line played great. I'm proud of them towards late in the game. Receivers came up big, obviously, and Trey got that go-ahead touchdown run. Was huge. So it's just trusting my guys, trusting the coaches.
Our BronxNet cameras have had a knack for capturing prolific quarterbacks over the years. In this week's Turn Back the Clock segment, we've got Kyler and Tua going head-to-head for the Heisman in 2018. Murray is one of the stars in the NFL these days. You can see the same for Tua, too, with the former leading the way on an OT win for Arizona against the Raiders, and the latter registering 6 touchdowns and over 455 yards in his dub for the Miami Dolphins. We turn back the clock.
Time Kyler Murray did not throw for 200 yards in a game was earlier this season in September against Army. The rest of the year, you could make a case for him being the best quarterback on the best offense in the country. And tonight, he's your 2018 Heisman winner. Murray, the two-sport star who also plays baseball, was drafted by the Oakland Athletics this past June, has been named the country's top college football player in what could be his final season playing the sport. This means back-to-back Heisman winners for Oklahoma after last year with Baker Mayfield. Murray, who threw for over 4,000 yards and 40 touchdowns for Oklahoma this season, won the Heisman on Saturday night in Times Square, beating out fellow quarterbacks Tua Tagovailoa of Alabama and Dwayne Haskins of Ohio State.
This is something I've dreamed of my whole life. I felt like a lot of hard work has been put into this, but at the same time, I'm not here if it's not for God, my teammates, my coaches, my family. So it hasn't sunk in yet, but this is crazy.
Oklahoma coach Lincoln Riley has gotten used to coming to New York this time of year.
This is certainly a team award, and is very appropriate as he named his offensive linemen, went through the other players, all the other staff members, everybody that was involved to help it come to this. That's who it's about tonight. Back-to-back quarterbacks, I don't think that's ever happened. So no doubt, but it's tonight's about Kyler.
The season has been special with my teammates. It's been everything I dreamed of, and to represent them up here is special.
Powerful performances by these signal callers and lots of power for the dramatic conclusion to the IndyCar season in every sense of the word. In fact, IndyCar's intense season came to a nail-biting end in Monterey, California on September 11th. Will Power beat Team Penske teammate Joseph Newgarden by 16 points for the Australian to win his second IndyCar title and the 16th national championship for Roger Penske. He finished third at Laguna Seca Raceway, a spot behind Newgarden. We check in with the ever-consistent Will Power.
Mentally drained. Couldn't show the sort of emotion that I showed when I won the 500. But it's been like a long journey over the year, so I think it's pretty fitting that we just did another solid day, just a sort of long game day like today. That's just been the story of our year.
We'll stick with racing for another highlight of the month of September, and that comes to us by way of NASCAR. Bubba Wallace wins at Kansas Speedway. Wallace was fast all day at Kansas and beat his owner, actually, Denny Hamlin, to the checkered flag in the Kansas Lottery 400. In doing so, Wallace became the 18th different winner this season, making it the most different winners in NASCAR Cup Series history at this point. The win is Wallace's second NASCAR Cup Series victory and first this season. Cool highlight before we get deeper into the playoffs. We caught up with Bubba. Check this out.
Anytime you can get to victory lane in the Cup Series, it's a moment that you don't want to let go. Unfortunately, we got to shift our mind focus to Bristol now. But we'll celebrate tonight. But to win it in this fashion, yeah, it's definitely really cool. So, we're talked about when we go to the speedways, and kind of not so much the rest of the tracks. So I want to start changing that. And we've been able to show up these last 2 months or so, all different types of racetracks, and be talked about, and that's cool. So it's a step in the right direction. We just can't get complacent. We just got to keep going, got to keep pushing for more. And this is great, but we have to continue to go back out and battle. So I appreciate the opportunity that I'm in right now with the team that I have, and keep going.
Congrats to Bubba. We shift gears to the hardwood for a wrap-up to the WNBA season. The finals coming to an end in Connecticut nearly a year ago. The Las Vegas Aces suffered a season-ending loss that burned with them throughout the winter months. It fueled them this season. The Aces beat the Connecticut Sun 78-71 in Game 4 and won the WNBA Finals 3-1, giving the city of Las Vegas its first major professional sports championship. Aces guard Chelsea Gray was named Finals MVP. For our diehards out there, you might recall their origins as a franchise. The Aces franchise started as the Utah Stars in 1997 when the WNBA made its debut as a league. The team moved to San Antonio in 2003 and appeared in the WNBA Finals in 2008, getting swept, unfortunately. Former New York Liberty star Becky Hammond was a player for San Antonio then. She is head coach for Las Vegas now as the Aces. The franchise appeared in the 2020 WNBA Finals and was swept again. But under Hammond, the finals this time around changed. A new narrative. The 45-year-old is the first person in WNBA history to win a title in her first season as a head coach, aside, of course, from the first year of the league. Here's an elated Becky Hammond on the championship.
Super proud of the group. It was a battle. We knew it wasn't going to be easy. It's never easy to close a game in a regular season, let alone in a championship game on somebody else's home court. So just really happy for the girls overall. They stayed focused. This has been the goal, since training camp. And luckily I got a group of really resilient players. And I said it out there, but probably the biggest thing I'm proud of is just how they've come together over the course of the past 5-6 months to really become a team. And you saw different people step up at different moments tonight, and that's what makes us difficult to beat.
So happy for Becky, not so happy for the Battle of the Bronx. Thankfully, my sadness will come after just 1 year of having to sit out without the Battle of the Bronx. Despite not squaring off this season, the Fordham and men's Manhattan basketball teams will resume their rivalry in the 23-24 season. The two schools were unable to find a suitable date that worked for both institutions on the upcoming schedule this winter, but will meet in the Rose Hill Gym for the 23-24 game. In a joint statement, both directors of athletics, Ed Cull and Marianne Riley, stated that the institutions respect the tradition and history associated with the crosstown rivalry here in the Bronx. A long-term contract will be created and established for the first time and will ensure the tradition continues. The series will resume next season. On to some better local news. The first week of interscholastic fall sports in the city brought us a classic matchup from the high school ranks. Cardinal Hayes and St. Raymond in a championship rematch in boys soccer to kick things off. Hayes, the defending champs, beat Rays again, this time 9-0, backed by 4 goals from Jaquan Ellis. Cardinal Hayes in the hunt for back-to-back titles here in the Bronx. Ellis had 25 goals for Hayes last season. Look out for him in the future. And look out for the Iona Prep Gales football team. Again this season in local high school football. I realized last year was a special one, but this year could be just as good, maybe even better, especially after their result against a longtime rival. Yes, the Gales won their last 11 games last season, claimed a league and state title, but they still viewed last year's season opening loss at Don Bosco Prep as a big disappointment. Eager for a rematch, the Prep rallied from behind on the road and stunned the New Jersey State Power on a Johnny Shepard's touchdown run with 68 seconds remaining. Final score in this one, 42-35. What a thriller. The Gales dropped last year's game against Bosco, Shepherd's first varsity start, by that same score, then swept through every New York opponent on the schedule, just like they had the previous spring. The rematch began with Bosco roaring to an early 21-7 advantage, but the Gales answered and had some second half in this one after cutting the deficit to 28-21 at halftime. Those are the headlines. To the C-list for a shameless plug this morning. All right, folks, catch Pulitzer Prize-winning author Buzz Bissinger right here in the Sports Corner on Open. In case you missed it on TV, head on over to our YouTube page at BronxNet. So cool to chat with the legend, the man behind Friday Night Lights. We're talking about high school football this morning. His latest, The Mosquito Bowl, is a super read. When the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, college football was at its height of its popularity as the nation geared up for war. One branch of the service dominated the aspirations of college football stars, the Marines. That's why on Christmas Eve 1944, the 4th and 29th Marine Regiments found themselves in the middle of the Pacific Ocean training for what would be the bloodiest battle of the war, the invasion of Okinawa. Their ranks included one of the greatest pools of football talent ever assembled, former All-Americans, captains from Wisconsin and Brown and Notre Dame, and nearly 20 men who were either drafted or would ultimately play in the National Football League. Thank you, Buzz, for a great read and a super conversation right here on BronxNet. That's your look at sports. I'm Bobby C. More Open back after this.